Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to the Human Garden stage here at the Harrogate Spring Flower Show 2025. You're having a lovely day. Thank you for bringing the sunshine. I'm very, very optimistic about the weather for the rest of this week. Hopefully optimistic, but that's a Yorkshire gardener for you, isn't it? My name is Dr. Sarah Owen Hughes. I'm the head gardener at Rudding Park, just across the road there, and I'm with my beach babe for the week. I've got Faith Douglas, who's the curator at Thorp, Perrow, Arboretum, and our next guest is quite close to home because he's the head gardener of the Thorp Perrow estate. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, give a very warm welcome to Jack Moore.
Hello, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Nice to see you, Jack. I've not seen you for ages, have I? We're sick of the sight of each other. Thanks so much for coming to chat to us. Before we start chatting about the Arboretum and the estate and what that entails and what it is, just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into horticulture, because you're young. He's a young'un, isn't he? He's a young'un.
Everybody's young for me nowadays, Faith.
He's a young'un, and it's really nice to see younger people coming into this industry, and I think it's really inspiring for others out there who might be listening or watching, just to hear about your little journey and where you're going.
So yes, I'm 28 years old, and it's my third estate that I've worked on. I've always been very keen gardener. I started out growing veg in my aunt's garden. I do some veg workshops now and again at Thorp Perrow, so I might as well keep an eye out for that. It's my third estate at Thorp Perrow. Before that was at Sutton Park. My first ever estate I worked on was this William estate in South Yorkshire.
And you've done an RHS qualification, haven't you?
Yes, I studied my RHS level 3 at Aston Bright College. I passed that 2 years ago. Since then, I've just been gaining more and more knowledge.
And you did that whilst you were working, so how did that work? For those that are listening that are working and would like to get further education, how did you do that?
It's very, very tiring, but obviously I work through the day. I've got a day off to go and study at Aston Bright, and then lots and lots of revision.
And I think the RHS qualifications are internationally recognised as being that benchmark, and the level 3 is a challenging qualification, isn't it? But when you're working, what you're learning during the day, you can then apply, can't you? You find yourself walking around the estate going, oh, I knew that, I learned that, I can apply that. How did that work for you?
Yeah, it all links in, especially like propagation. It comes in very handy. But a wider knowledge of just the whole horticultural sector, it always comes in handy, just with various different industries in horticulture.
So, I'm not going to say anything about Thorp Perrow. I want to hear what you've got to say about Thorp Perrow. So just tell everybody here listening, what is Thorp Perrow?
So Thorp Perrow is an arboretum. It's a 100-acre arboretum. The Arboretum opened in 1977 when Sir John Rottman took over the estate. The current owner is Sir Henry Rottman. It was Sir Leonard who started the Arboretum off, and I think that was in the 1930s. But it was actually William Rottner who bought the estate, and he made his money in shipping, merchant shipping at Harrogate.
Is that where the masters come from? Is that?
Yeah, I think that one fell off. Didn't do a good job of that one.
And whereabouts is Thorp Perrow for those who don't know?
So Thorp Perrow is 20 minutes drive from Ripon, or it's roughly 3 miles out from Beadle, or around 4 miles from Massive, if you know where that is. It's nestled in lovely countryside, with plenty of woodland surrounding.
So the special thing about Thorp Perrow is we have the original Arboretum planting, which started very late 1920s, didn't it? But we've got, that sits within ancient woodland, because Springswood dates back to medieval times. It's mentioned in the Domesday Book. Then that sits within 16th century parkland, so we've still got a lot of 16th century parkland trees, not just in the Arboretum, but also on the wider estate, haven't we? And then you've got the 1800s planting era as well, which is where the Pineaton comes into it. So I think the special thing about Thorp Perrow is many arboretums across the country are quite young, They say it takes 100 years to grow an arboretum.
Yeah.
And we have so many different planting eras, different exciting times for our country in planting, all mushed into one. So it's a really special place. So just tell us about the garden, the private side garden.
So the private side garden, I've got herbaceous borders running down the main path. We've got a lot of formal lawns that surround the main hall. We have a Renaissance Italian style topiaries, which are more or less in front of the lake. We've got a veg garden at the back, but we're going to have a go at cut wildflowers this year. Cut flowers, sorry, rather than wildflowers. We do have a wildflower small meadow which surrounds the orchard.
And then you've got the wildflowers by the lake as well, with lots of little orchids that are popping up
Yes,
now,
yes,
aren't they?
come and spot them.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. So just tell us about some of the events that are coming up, Jack.
So we have got a fair few events coming up at Thorp, but I'll only name a few. So we have a beekeeping workshop, so that's going to be on the 2nd and 3rd of May. And we have a quite exciting terrarium workshop, which I think is with York Terrariums, and that's coming up on the 3rd of July.
Am I doing any forest bathing?
Yes, you are. So the forest bathing is on the 3rd of June, and that runs from the 10 a.m. till 12.
Can you remind me closer to the time?
Yes,
to
I
get
will
out
do.
of my diary. I'm kidding, Kate's looking at it.
My first experience of Thorp Perrow was coming up the Halloween trail that you do every year with my children, and it's unbelievable. It's really special. It's different every year. I remember, well, even now I ask them what they remember of it. The first thing they say is the wellies upside down in the lake. They genuinely, with their little thought, a gardener had fallen in. And it's just such fun. It's a really great way of getting kids into the garden. But the big surprise for me was when I came one spring, because I'd always associated it as an autumn garden because of the trees. But the spring with the snowdrops and the daffodils and your blossom.
Soon to be with bluebells as well.
The bluebells coming through as well now, yeah.
The cherry blossom is amazing.
Unbelievable. And we've had such a good year for blossom this year, haven't we, as well? So what are the highlights for the next sort of month for anybody who wants to come up to Thorp Perrow? What would you point them towards?
So the cherries and the bluebells are the main thing at the minute. Snow, daffodils have more or less just come to an end, so the trail will be coming after that. But the wildflower meadow is coming up soon. That'll be around end of May, June, the time that that starts to look great. We've got various trails and events going through, but our biggest draw-in is obviously autumn. We have amazing autumn colour from the Katinas and the Aces, and also the cherry when they start turning. But the Halloween trail is really, really great if you've got grandkids. It's a day out for all the family. Yeah.
With a play area and a cafe, because those are the really important things, aren't they, when you're going out to a garden? Is there a decent cafe, and is there a play area for the children? And also, you have wildlife there as well.
Yes, we do have a tea room which serves great teas and coffees, sandwiches, hot food, and things like that. Yes, there is a playground, a little playground area for the kids. We also have a bird of prey centre. I don't know much about birds, so we're going to talk about owls and hawks.
Is that in the old walled garden? Because that's very much separate from the gardens. You can go in, but if you're not interested in birds of prey, you don't have to.
So it's in the old kitchen wall garden. There's some of the original fruit trees, because the wall garden not only fed the people on the estate, the people that worked for the estate, but when they originally bought the estate, it was for the wider area, so it actually produced a lot of produce for a lot of people. But it's the perfect place for an attraction for the public, and I often say to people, I'd love to have it, and I'm sure Jack would love to have it as a kitchen wall garden. However, if we swap meerkats for cabbages, I think we'd have lots of complaints, to be honest.
Sure, yeah.
Because everybody would pick a meerkat over a cabbage any day. But there's loads for the family, not just for the kids. At the moment, there's the Easter trail still out, because there's still some schools on Easter holidays. Every school holiday, there's usually something happening, some sort of trail going on. There's something flowering or in season every single month. We have spring wildflowers just starting, so there's certain areas around the Arboretum that we leave to grow wild, because the wildflowers are really important, the wildlife's really important. We want to encourage that. So we have spring wildflower areas which are just starting to come to life, with lots of naturalised bulbs doing those as well. And then we go on to our summer meadow, which will start to flower later on and then goes through to sort of October time. But within that area, there's lots of perennial areas, there's lots of shrubs, herbaceous borders. You know, we have lots of different pockets, so there's always something of interest at any time of the year for absolutely everybody.
Bog walks as well.
The bog walk as well.
That's side of looking at it, so.
Yeah, and I know it's really difficult because no real gardener has a favourite plant because all plants are fantastic. Which bit of the garden are you most excited about right now? Right now. Tomorrow it could be different.
At the moment, it's the herbaceous border. Everything's starting to pop up, everything's coming to life. The herbaceous border will look at its best in June. So I always look forward to that point. Obviously, trying to keep on top of it's another thing. But yeah, the herbaceous border at the moment is going to deal with.
I was going to say, it keeps you very busy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the tulips have started coming through, which I planted. I tend to reuse the tulips from the pots the previous year, so it's making best use of what I've already got.
Fantastic, fantastic. So if anybody wants any advice, wants to talk about the garden and find out more about Thorp Perrow, you're here all day, aren't you?
Yeah,
on the
Just
stand
over there near the toilets.
I was going to say opposite the gluten-free flapjacks, which is what I'm going to be eating later. Jack, it's just so lovely seeing you thrive and flourish and finding again somebody who is young and coming into horticulture at a young age. I'm very hopeful because I'm not sure that our glass backs will be able to garden for that much longer. And ladies and gentlemen, isn't he brilliant? Very, very huge thank you to Jack Moore from Thorp Perrow.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, everybody.